And our friend Andrew was trying to figure out what the hell was going on. There's so much chaos, so much change going on around him. He didn't understand what was going on. He was quite perplexed. The very fabric of life, as he'd grown to know it, was changing all around him. And he felt so helpless to do anything about it. Between the changes in governance, the changes in weather, the changes in climate, all of the things that were going on around him were overwhelming in one regard. But the most bewildering part to him, that as an INFP, as a highly sensitive empath, for the first time in his life, he wasn't shut down For the first time in his life, he wasn't shut down by all the chaos. He was able to ride the storm with no foreboding sense of. This was new to him. He was aware of the panic in others. He was aware of others' anger and frustration. But somehow he knew everything would be okay. That things for him would be okay. Things would change. Things would be different. Everything would work out. Andrew was walking his path in a surreal state of possibility. It was somewhat discomforting to him to not be wrapped up in the chaos. We will see how he was able to do that after we do our meditation and our healing practice. Welcome to Spirit360 Fellowship. We are an online community, a group of spiritual old souls, light minds, introverts, extroverts, kindred spirits, all seeking to learn how to create spiritual solutions to life's problems. I'm T.S. Meeting, and I'm always here to answer the knock of those who are interested in rediscovering their spirit's intent, that they may walk their path with purpose, intent. Again, welcome to Spirit360 Fellowship. We're so glad that you found us, yet not at all surprised you did. Today's topic is spirituality and practice. How do we, as old souls, people who have had multiple lifetimes as human beings, who know there's more to life than meets the eye, start to train ourselves to recognize that intuitive knowing on command when we need it most? The answer to that is through our spiritual practices, learning to train the body to remain present at this moment in time as our mind and emotions are calm and quiet, to perceive and understand those things spiritual, the reality of what's so, the language of spirit or energy. Spirituality and practice is the pathway to power. And power is your ability to create a result quickly without any force by knowing your next step and always taking it. And our friend Andrew was perplexed by the fact that he was not involved deeply in all the chaos he was experiencing and watching others experience. He was starting to see the benefit of his simple meditation practice and his ability to, over time, begin to sense and know things intuitively using his ESP and with his spirit communication in verifiable ways. Because to perceive those things on command, you have to have a quiet mind and control. You have to be receptive, and your emotions have to be calm. And the benefits were beginning to show up as this connection with the eye of the storm, this place of calm receptivity, thinking tranquility, and mindful presence, began to be more and more available to him in shorter and shorter periods. As he started to perceive this mindfulness, he altered the Serenity prayer, because some of the words in it didn't exactly reflect how he felt. He started to realize he had the ability to change many things. And he saw that he could change them. The things he saw he could not change, he accepted. But more importantly, he recognized the awareness to spot the difference, to discern the difference between the two. The place he was most at home changing things was within him. The things he was almost invariably not able to change existed outside of him. And this ability was brought about by the meditation practice, the stillness practice we just did. And with that stillness in meditation comes peace, quietude, a calmness. And that peace allows us to step into a place of awareness to see things as they are. And that awareness enables our ability to discern the reality of what we're experiencing. And with that discernment, we are at the source of our power and capable and willing to choose. Some people call this free will. And it is this place of quiet receptivity, mindful presence, thinking tranquility, that is the eye of the storm, that allows us to be present regardless of the chaos that exists outside of us, because we've trained our mind to avoid the thunder of our thinking, to create peacefulness, a calmness, a knowing within. But once we have free choice and free will, what the hell are we going to choose? And that's the idea of Spirit's intent. Conscious choice. I'm a fan of the Matrix. So red pill, blue pill. What are you going to choose? Are you going to choose to accept the reality of the situation around you, chaos and all, be connected and grounded into a type of reality informed by the energy, the spirit, the knowing, the oneness, the at-one-ment of a spiritual experience? Now, my friends, it is the reality that stands beyond the delusions of our outward senses. That delusion of how we think things are is not true. There is an objectiveness that exists for each of us that transcends our own personal understanding of this. And that's the ultimate mind screw that Andrew started to become responsible for. He would hear something and it would only be a partial truth. He would understand it, but not the whole. Things were perplexing and bewildering to him, because 1 and 1 never added up to 2 and always added up to 3 or 4, because he was not seeing the whole truth. He was reading between the lines, especially as an empath, especially as a sensitive person who would pick up on the energies around him, but he wasn't picking up the whole truth, the whole energy. His mind was filling in the blanks and creating stories about what he thought was true. What he thought was true instead of what the truth really was. And it is this distortion of our personal truths, how we see the world in a way that works for us, that creates the opaque nature of reality, that allows us to not detach from the chaos and change that is going on around us all the time, whether it's climate change, severe weather, political change, world change. It's all change. But we get attached to the way things are instead of accept the way things are. And it is attachment to the way things are in our mind that keeps us distraught and disconnected from accepting a reality which is not our place to change in most of the circumstances. He realized that he had a very bad going along training. To avoid consequences, to be accepted in his tribe, he would go along with the status quo. Because the people he grew up with, the people who trained him, the communities that he was involved with, demanded he do so, or he would be excommunicated. He would be separated from the herd, separated from the tribe. And that was a very risky situation, making it dangerous to survive. But the most important thing, as he started to see his role, his place in the world, as he started to reconnect to his body, which at some point in his early lifetime, he disconnected from. As he did his meditation, as they become more deeply present, he started to feel things in his abdomen, in his solar plexus area, in his lower abdomen. Sometimes it was queasy. Sometimes it created a little nauseous. Sometimes it was just this almost hyperventilation as he relaxed and allowed his mind to step back into his body, to be connected. The physicality of his beingness. He felt his body heal. He felt his mind be able to direct energy throughout his body, and he could feel it, no longer disconnected from the apparatus, this physical biochemical machine, this avatar, if we will, this meat suit, if you will, in which his spirit was experiencing the three-dimensional world. The result of this reconnection of his body is he started to recognize the cause of the symptoms which he was so busily trying to treat. See, Western medicine is really good at identifying and treating symptoms. Very bad about healing, recreating harmony that causes the symptom in the first place. So as you start to get grounded back into your body, mind, body, spirit, aligned in three-part harmony, home, this moment in time, in the eye of the storm, connected, what's happening in your body, that energy, which some people call blockages, is no longer blocked. You can flow the energy throughout your central nervous system, your circulation system, and you can be fully present at the source of your health, at the source of your well-being, at the source of your mindfulness and your presence, at the source of harmony. And that's what was starting to integrate into our friend Andrew's life. In the harshest lesson, he was raised to always look for the problem, the worst case scenario, the challenge, and those things beyond his control, which were the most challenging, which were the worst case scenarios, which were the most chaotic, allowed him to stay in a place of fear. And fear blocks your psychic abilities. Fear blocks your intuitive knowing. Fear blocks your spirit's intent. Because fear is a physical sensation created by the body to help you survive through fight, flight, freezing, or this instinctual behavior to survive blocked his intuitive, spiritual awareness. But as Andrew began to be present in his body and to recognize these different states he operated in, he experienced emancipation, a freedom from the past. He realized at a blinding flash of the obvious that he is not obligated to do a damn thing he doesn't want to. Whereas most of his life, he felt obligated to do all the things other people said he had to do to fit into the tribe, to fit into life, to be the little person he was supposed to be loved, to be accepted. He ain't got to do nothing. A sense of freedom. And it is this emancipation, freed from all the constraints of his past decisions, his past training, and freed from all the fears and worries about what shall be in the future. Present at this moment in time, mind, body, spirit, aligned in three-part harmony, that allowed Andrew to breathe. He started to tap into a self-awareness, a warmth, an energy flow, an aliveness that hadn't been there before. He was like a robot, an animatron, just playing out the roles he thought he had to play, doing what he thought he had to do. He finally got a glimpse into what the phrase, to thine own self true, to thine own self be true, meant. Self-worth, self-sufficiency, self-esteem. He began to start loving himself, accepting himself, being the expression of who he knew himself to be. He started to trust his inner knowing. He began to be self-referential as he opened the door to his psychic and his healing abilities. See, knowing, that intuition, that ESP, that mediumship, that connection with spirit, that overall sense of connected with everything and nothing, that is the telltale sign of enlightenment. More and more his disposal, because he was consciously present in his body. More importantly, he started to develop a sense of self-respect instead of self-loathing, a sense of self-respect instead of self-loathing. Andrew had rediscovered his spirit. And the thing about spirit is not distracting. It's a groundedness that connects you with your purpose, your intent, the reason you incarnate. It disconnects you from the noise that is not you. And that, my friends, is the distraction that causes the frustration, that causes the anxiety, that causes the panic. The spiritual signal that you're able to tap into is your source of power. It allows you to detach from the worries and the physical sensations of your body to create this idealized version of who you are that reminds your physical body of what your genetic perfection is and allows that genetic perfection to begin to take shape and manifest and materialize in your physical experience. As he began to have these unworldly experiences, reconnecting with the divine, the higher self, the universe, whatever you want to call it, he recalled the Chinese proverb that the very best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Damn, he wished he had done that. But the next best time is right now, and right now is right. He started to plant the tree of awareness in his actions. And as it took root, as he started to cultivate it with more practice, as he allowed that tree of knowledge, that tree of knowing to blossom and grow and become a part of him, the signal to noise ratio began to, the outside noise and the inside noise of his mind began to quiet. And the inner knowing, the signal of spiritual truth, spiritual awareness, spiritual oneness, the language of spirit, which is energy, started to become more and more amplified in his awareness. He learned that he could be right while not being righteous. Being right is a place of knowing, a place of centering, a place of grounding in your awareness. What's right for you? Righteousness is having to force your opinion on other people. And that's part of the chaos that's around. Everybody thinks they know the damn truth and they try to make everyone else believe their damn truth. Sometimes physical ramifications. And that does, as he began to quiet his mind, control his emotions, and allow himself to be present, his right thought, his right meditation began to be in the foreground. His righteousness felt he did not react or respond to other people's righteousness, wanting him to be a certain way. And as he began to drop his righteousness, to come from the right place of knowing, he was starting to experience and understand what it meant to be responsible. He could be an expression, an exemplification of his values and beliefs with every action he took. And that gave him power and freedom to be more authentically present, to be more authentically himself, to not have to play the games the world seemed to demand. As he quieted the chaos within, he quit reacting to the chaos. The chaos without lost its power. The noise started to quiet. The signal from his awareness began to become more amplified in his awareness. And here's the part that is the most interesting to Andrew. The more you become you, the more you become authentically you, the more you become attractive AF. And if you don't know what AF is, you can Google it. It's a bad word, but it really is true. You become attractive to so many different people on an energetic level that the people who were in your life before that caused all the righteousness to have to be present for you to survive lowers. And the people around you, the community around you that you're creating consciously after your awakening and starting to develop your spiritual practices to be present in your body, make life a lot quieter, have you be a lot less defensive. The purpose of a Spirit 360 Fellowship and community is to give you that guarding to grow your awareness, to grow you can start to impact and change your outer world by exemplifying your values and beliefs in a way that's not pertinent to others. It is a pure exemplification of who you are. But what now? What next? So you have this inner peace. Andrew was ready to take on the world, but not in the way he was trained to take on the world. And that's the part that is the most frustrating thing about change. Change is the only constant in the universe. Always has been, always will be. And as you begin to realize that nothing ever is going to stay the same, then you have a glimpse into the possibility of freedom. And if you doubt what I'm talking about, if you have the luxury of living long enough and watching your physical body change from where it was when it was 20 to where it is when you're 40, to the reality of being 60 and older, change happens. And sometimes that change, if we resist it, is not good unless we make it good. So surfing chaos, riding these waves of change is a never-ending process of adapting and adjusting, recovering from the reality you experience around you. You take each step exemplifying your values and beliefs. You don't talk about them, you don't share them, you don't do anything, you just be who you know yourself to be. You look in life to what's happening and you identify and discern what you can change. Virtually everything you can change happens within. You recognize what you cannot change and you accept that. The acceptance of what you cannot change gives you more power, more freedom, more ability to express and change what you can, because you're not resisting trying to change something that it's not your place to change. You're not in the power to learn to accept. The awareness to discern comes from the 3 R's, right meditation, right thought, right action, right meditation. Clears the blackboard of your mind, clears the dry erase board of your mind. You get rid of all of that from spirit, from energy, from knowingness, from the at-one-ment, can be heard and perceived. And in this place of quiet knowing, you think through the process using the right thought process about all the possibilities. This is where you examine, is this mine to change or is this not mine to change? That's where discernment happens. As you go through the right thinking process, may involve some journaling, may involve some deep retrospection, you realize what your next step should be. If the next step is actionable, then you've quieted your mind. You've examined what's important to you, what you can change, what you can't change, and you come up with an actionable decision. That actionable decision has no barrier to you taking that action. It's the next step. And you take that next step, which is right action. That right action yields a result. That result is positive, what you want, negative, what you don't want. Good karma, bad karma. Then you repeat. Now at first you do this on maybe a daily basis. Sometimes a weekly basis. You create and see what you want for the week. As you become more mindful, you're present, more engaged in being a spiritual person, it's almost a moment by moment, step by step process of continually being mindfully present and connected to your spirit self. Therefore, you never react. You only respond. You never get upset. You only allow others their right to do what the hell they want to. You never get engaged because you become detached from the results, knowing your actions will allow you to get where you need to be. And that, my friends, is the exemplification and the personification of being true to yourself. And it is that self-truth that our friend Andrew learned would allow him to ride the waves of all the chaos, all the crap, all the weather change, all the climate change, all of the upset that is constantly around him. Because here's what he realized. He realized that half the people loved the change. Half the people hated it. Half the people resisted the change. Half the people embraced the change. All he could do is be himself, attracting those like him to create the community to allow him permission and freedom to be himself. That even though the change was inevitable, as it always is, at the end of the change, a new norm would be around. The premise of writing the change, surfing the change in the chaos, is trusting that attracts light. When you're tapping into exactly who you are, you're attracting exactly the people you need to ride out the chaos, to ride out the change. Your bellwether, your measure, your pop quiz, what and who are you attracting? That gives you a sense of the shift you need to be on the inside to eliminate the chaos within that stops the chaos from without, from taking you off course. That taps you into the purpose and intent of your spirit's reason for incarnating into this body at this time. Is it easy? Hell no. Is it simple? Impossibly. The choice is yours. Plant the tree, nurture the tree, enjoy the fruits of your labor. You will find that while the chaos is never going away, your place amidst the chaos is solid. You are solidly at home in that place. My highest blessings.